I'm back. So,
there be peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be, with earth as our mother, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my solemn vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
The winds came and the rains came and we ran for shelter. All the ice came and the fires came and we hugged each other. When all we've known is stripped away, houses and cars and trees and shade, who are we anyway? We shiver in the cold of desolation, wandering around in isolation, recreating life's solutions. All the winds came and the rains came and we ran for shelter. And the ice came and the fires came and we hugged each other. We make walls and we make fences, surround ourselves with great defenses, keeping people at a distance. When all we've known is rearranged, our control is out of range, lives are forever changed. All the winds came and the rains came and we ran for shelter. The ice came and the fires came and we hugged each other. When tragedy brings us together, to survive it does not matter who we call brothers and sisters. In the end we cannot walk away. We must know that from today our lives will grow in change. All the winds came and the rains came and we ran for shelter. And the ice came and the fires came and we hugged each other. We hugged each other. We hugged each other.
shine. I know that you're not mine. Oh, call out to the gods of wisdom. They will not hear your cry. Here, you want to know there is no way but go die in your shell if you lie still. Like the salt in the sea, you are important to me. The glimmer in the sky awakens asking why. That tongue mine is tied. Give up your pride. Be who we are. All else would be sin. Deep beats within your shine. I know you're not mine, but deep down into these rhymes, don't fret, it isn't time. Lying in my bed, I hear the clock ticking and think of you turning in circles, confusion.
Welcome to the Holston Valley Unitarian Universalist Church. I am the Reverend Tiffany Sapp, and I am so glad we can connect during this time through the power of technology. Please be aware that this service is being live streamed and recorded, and that you can find the subtitles in one of your menu options at the bottom of the screen. We are still posting the services to YouTube, and you are welcome to join us in this way, but you will miss being able to participate in the more interactive portions of the service. The Zoom chat function is going to be especially useful in this service. It's a little more interactive than most this morning. So I invite you to take a moment to orient yourself to the chat options. If your Zoom setup is like mine, then you will find a menu of options at the bottom of your window. And if you, there should be one there that just says chat. If you click on it, you'll probably get a pop-up window where you can see our chat. There are some things about being human that unite us. And today we hold two of those together at the same time: grief and gratitude. Whether the losses are large or small, all of us have experienced grief. Having a community to hold those losses with us can literally be life-saving. And those practices of recognizing what we are grateful for often carry us through. This is a time for us to take stock together. What are you grateful for today? And what are you grieving today? Open yourself up to those questions during our time together.
Good morning. I'm Tom Burns, and I'm happy to be with you today as your service leader. Even though we aren't in person, we are together. We are part of a community that is bigger than the limits of geography. One of the symbols of our connection is the flaming chalice. As I light mine, I invite you to light your own flame if you have a candle or a chalice with you. Joy and grief, health and sickness, light and darkness, peace and anger, life and death, wholeness and brokenness. We each bring all of these here to this sanctuary of unity in diversity for this 1 hour of this one day, and pour them out, commingling the oil of our lives to become the flame of this chalice, the symbol of our shared living faith. Our shared living faith is covenantal, meaning that we as a community have committed to being in relationship with each other. Our relationships can change us. Our relationships can support us. In today's story, the shadow elephant, we can see how the elephant's friends try to support him in his sadness.
Some said the elephant was gloomy. Some said she was trying to hide her sadness. Some said she preferred the shadows. But whatever the reason, Elephant laid in the shadows. The animals of the savannah wanted to find a way to cheer Elephant up again, perhaps if they told her a funny story. So Monkey threw himself into it and told the funniest joke he knew. The one about the banana stuck in an ear. It was so silly, it got laughs every time.
Not a smile, not a sound. The elephant listened attentively, but remained in the shadows.
Next, the ostrich sisters gave it a try. They danced every dance they could think of. The robot, the Macarena, the floss. They even T-posed for a little bit.
But the elephant watched them without so much as a twitch and remained in the shadows.
Seeing that the elephant did not feel like laughing, the crocodile thought a treat might perk her up. He brought a bowl full of young acacia leaves, his favorite.
But that did not work either. The elephant blinked her eyes, sighed through her trunk, and remained in the shadows.
A little later, a small mouse who was scurrying by stopped. Out of breath, she asked the elephant, "Could I rest here next to you?"
You're not here to tell me a story?
"No, I would just like to sit here for a moment."
You're not here to change my mind?
"No, but if you'd really like to know, I've walked all day trying to find a golden key that belongs to my sister. It's the most precious thing she owns. I took the key without asking and then lost it while playing in the savannah. I've searched and walked and searched some more. I've wandered so far that now I'm lost. I'm afraid that I'll never find the key or my way home."
Elephant sighed and gave a little hiccup and started to cry. She cried silently, a flood of tears, like she might never stop. Seeing her crying, the mouse started to cry too.
Drained of her tears and feeling much better, the elephant took one step, then another, and emerged from the shadows. She walked slowly toward the mouse.
Let's walk together. The moonlight will show us the way to your house.
On the way, I'd really like to hear your story.
I can try.
The end.
Isn't that interesting to think about what worked and what didn't work for the shadow elephant? It makes me curious about what each of us may need when we're sad or grieving. Do we all react the same? Or do we have some needs that are different? Share your thoughts in the chat. What do you need most when you feel like you're in the shadows of life? Maybe the shadow elephant was experiencing grief. By the end of the story, I think she was experiencing gratitude too for a friend that would just be with her. Our musical offering points us to another way of holding grief and gratitude together at the same time, and that is the beauty of fall. Traditionally, fall has been a time of harvest, which points our imagination to gratitude as the crops come in. But the time of harvest has also been a traditional time to contemplate loss and grief, as the ending of plant and animal life is a necessary part of the harvest. Even our beautiful leaves that inspire so much joy in us are dying, showing us how breathtaking it can be to let go. The musical offering is Appalachian Melody, written by Mark Hurd and performed by Rosemary, Ann Johnson, and Wendy. As soon as Rosemary heard this last year, she fell in love with the poetry and imagery of it. Some of the images shared in this video are taken by Rosemary during her walks around the neighborhood, and some are from Wendy and Anne's trip to Maine, and some are stock images. But all of them invite us to marvel at the gentle beauty of fall. We may be having difficulties getting that YouTube video up, but I'm sure it will show up in a minute, or someone will let us know that it won't be.
Tiffany, let's move on to the next part and maybe choose another spot in the service where it might fit.
That sounds good. Well, in that case, we are going to do our first gratitude reading, which means that it is time for Tom to come back on.
In this interactive service, we will have a chance to contemplate both our grief and our gratitude. And we can start with gratitude. This is a reading from Anne Lamont's Help, Thanks, Wow. Thanks is the short form of the original prayer I used to say in gratitude for any unexpected grace in my life. Thank you, thank you, thank you. As I grew spiritually, the prayer became the more formal thank you. And now, from the wrinkly peaks of maturity, it's simply thanks. Now as then, most of the time for me, gratitude is a rush of relief that I dodged a bullet. The highway patrol guy didn't notice me speed by, or the dog didn't get hit by someone else speeding by. Or, oh my God, thank you, thank you, thank you, that it was all a dream. My child didn't drown. I didn't pick up a drink or appear on Oprah in my underpants with my dreadlocks dropping off my head.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. It does feel like that sometimes, doesn't it? From the stressful near misses of thank you, thank you, thank you for a negative COVID test, to the awe-filled thank you, thank you, thank you for mountainsides covered in oranges and yellows and reds. Even though we don't really know that anyone is out there hearing our thank yous, gratitude is a powerful force in our lives. In the Mayo Clinic's Guide for Happiness, Dr. Amit Saud tells us that practices like gratitude journals, gratitude jars, or intentionally meditating on what we're grateful for holds a large number of benefits. Gratitude will increase our happiness, help us sleep better, boost our immune system, and decrease our many risks of diseases. Anecdotally, one of my friends from Florida swears that she cured herself of rheumatoid arthritis by spending every morning on her back porch listing off the things she was grateful for. From the grandiose to the teeny tiny to everything in between, she started her day with gratitude, and she would even express gratitude for parts of her body. And it worked. The skeptic in me wants to analyze her story critically, but regardless of the data or the scientific details, I did see her quality of life improve the more she engaged in gratitude. There are times when I feel down or really beset by life that I will also lean on a gratitude practice to get me through. It takes a lot of energy to motivate myself to start thinking about what I'm grateful for when I'm going through a rough patch. But if I can get moving with it. That return on investment is worth the work that you have to do to overcome the initial inertia. I start to feel better. I may even start to look at whatever's challenging me from a different angle. So rather than preaching at you too much about gratitude today, I want to invite all of us together to contemplate what we're grateful for. If you're on Zoom with us, the chat box is ready for you. As we do this sharing, I want to respect your right to opt in or opt out of the sharing. So if you want me to read your gratitude note out loud, begin what you type with the word yes. And if you want me to not read it out loud, begin what you type with the word no. That way you can share even if you don't want it read out loud. Yes, if you want me to read it out loud. No, if you don't. So come share your gratitudes with your community with a deep breath. Enter this sacred and supportive space with me. Enter a heart space of gratitude with me and share what you're grateful for in the chat. Breathe in those thank you, thank you, thank you, thank yous, and share in the chat whenever you're ready. You don't have to use long sentences or fancy words. In fact, simpler is better. It can be unique to you, or it can be something that many of us connect with. As you begin to type your gratitudes in the chat, I'm going to throw my own in, but you've already been sharing. We're grateful for our beloved community. We're grateful for a gorgeous day, for water play with grandchildren and a puppy. We're grateful for a comfortable couch that reclines. I'm grateful for my heartbeat. I'm grateful for the ways that happiness itself can be a kind of gratitude. More for our beloved community. Someone saying, I am blessed beyond words to have all that I need and know that abundance beyond that is mine and will manifest in perfect time with integrity so that I share that abundance. Grateful for the cycle of seasons again. Thank you. Grateful for family. For the family that came before us, the family that comes after us. Grateful for friends, for trees, for flowers, that sometimes these simple things are enough. I'm grateful for my backyard. Grateful for wonderful fireside fun, the evening we had, the chance to see all our friends. Oh, I was so grateful for that last night. And so grateful for the people who made it happen. Grateful for community. Grateful for friendships in our church. I was grateful for farm fresh tomatoes that have just materialized in my life 2 weeks in a row, and for all the sandwiches I've made out of it. I'm grateful for the way that my dog loses his mind whenever one of our family members comes home and the love that's behind that. Grateful for participatory Zoom services. Me too. And I'm grateful for our tech team that makes these things possible. Grateful for happiness, that happiness itself is a kind of gratitude. I'm grateful for religious freedom. I'm grateful for science. I'm grateful for those who forgive us when we mess up and for those who teach us and love us. I'm grateful for doctors and nurses. I'm grateful for technology that connects us and accommodates our needs. I'm grateful for the human spirit. I'm grateful for a community that cares. Grateful for a new puppy. Magi, as in gifts of the Magi. Grateful for the caring team, as am I, and as are many of you, I am sure. I'm grateful for the folks who have been maintaining our property, doing so much hard work to keep things running. We will get a chance to share more later. If you have anything else you want to share for gratitude, get it in right now, or I'm going to move on. I am grateful that we live in this time and this place, and that even though things are hard sometimes, we've been given the tools we need to navigate these challenges in life together. Grateful for every day. May we live our lives with a grateful awareness of all the gifts and graces that are at our fingertips. May it be so. So a full life gives us so much to be grateful for. If I could let every one of us give voice to every single thing that we're grateful for, the sun would be setting before we finished our reflection. And I'm grateful for that too, the abundance of feeling. And it's fun, isn't it, to contemplate what we're grateful for and to celebrate. I think we can feel our hearts stretching wide by these exercises. Less fun, but equally important, are practices around grieving. Grief is also a form of love. There is a quote. It sounds like Shakespeare, but it actually comes from Marvel's WandaVision TV series that really sums the grief part up. It says, "What is grief but love persevering?" So just like gratitude is love, so is grief. And grief is also part of a full life. In that spirit, I want to offer you a second reading today, a poem by Tom Zumba from his book, Permission to Mourn. If anyone knows anything about grief, it is Tom Zumba, who has buried his wife and two of his children, all in separate tragic incidents. So this is his poem. It's called "This Grief Stuff is Hard." I was talking to a friend about the work I do, and I explained that this healing stuff is hard, hard, hard work. She said, "Don't tell them it's hard, or they'll never do it. Just show them step by step by step what they need to do next. When they're ready, able, willing, they'll do it." I thought about that. And as always, the universe provides. As I was taking my morning walk, consciously searching for beauty, I was somewhat startled to see a small black bird sitting quietly, very quietly, right in the middle of my path. When I got one step closer, she fluttered her wings, and it was clear she could not fly. From a distance, she looked fine, intact, normal, healthy, happy. As I got closer, it was clear she was in pain. Upon even closer inspection, I could see her legs had gotten tangled in some twine and some string. The harder she worked to unravel and free herself, the tighter the knots became. Left alone, unable to fly, she would surely die. So I gently picked her up, moved her quickly, and brought her to a safe place, a safe, sacred space of healing. Using my small scissors so carefully not to cut her tiny legs, I deliberately and slowly cut the twine and string piece by oh so gently piece. I tried to remove the stuff that kept her from flying, and when most of it was removed, she took flight and was off. It would be her job to remove the rest of all that kept her weighted down. I had done all I could do. The rest was up to her. And I thought to myself, this healing stuff is hard, hard, hard work. It's better to be honest about it in the beginning. But when we accompany each other, the unbearable becomes bearable. When we use the knowledge and tools and the wisdom and grace to offer assistance to each other, flight is possible. Again, or for the first time, flight is possible. And that's what I know today. There is a new way to do grief, which creates a new way to do life. When we accompany each other, the unbearable becomes bearable. Life can be full of grief sometimes, but also full of people who will hold it with us. Sometimes we speak our grief to someone we can trust. Those threads of pain and knots of confusion can slowly unravel. Sometimes, in the small griefs, having ministers, friends, and a spiritual community to share them with is enough. Sometimes, in the larger griefs, we need to avail ourselves of the wisdom and experience of mental health professionals. As a religious community, part of our purpose is to companion each other through the challenging parts of our lives, including our grief. We companion each other. Sometimes we'll be the one doing the supporting. Sometimes we're the ones who need the support. And sometimes, somehow, we do both at once. Ironically, there have been many times that the best support I've received is when we are trying to do both at once. When I hear someone who is part of my community voice struggles that resonate with my own, there's something powerful about hearing your inner thoughts and feelings spoken by another. In Alan Wolfelt's book, When Grief is Complicated, he gives us a few helpful principles for companioning our friends in grief. He says, companioning is about being present to another's pain. It is not about taking away the pain. Companioning is about going to the wilderness of the soul with another human being. It is not about thinking you are responsible for finding the way out. Companioning is walking alongside. It is not about leading. Like the mouse and the shadow elephant, we are sitting together in the shadow. And then we are walking alongside each other as we seek the way. And so, my companions, all of you, we acknowledge together that the last few years have been a time of serious loss, and that we are all grieving in one way or another. As of this morning, 4,961,757 people have died worldwide from COVID-19. And so I light a candle for them. We witness this tragedy and we grieve together. That's a lot of loss. We've witnessed loss of life. We've also experienced losses of other kinds during this time. For example, I had a really specific vision about what my first year as a lead minister would look like. And it wasn't what we're experiencing right now during this pandemic. I consider it a small grief because I still get to be in ministry with you all here, and we are still doing this healing, transformational work together. But it is still a grief. It is still a loss. Even a loss of expectation is still a loss. And there's been a lot of that for a lot of us. When it comes to grief, sometimes we're afraid to put our losses into words. We're afraid it will hurt more. We're afraid that someone will see us cry. We're afraid of breaking open. But sometimes the acknowledgement of the grief is the first step to unraveling the thread that's keeping us from flying. Sometimes it's the first difficult move in the healing. If you wish to share your grief in chat, I invite you to do so. As we did with our sharing of gratitude, when we share our grief, I will respect your right to opt in or opt out of your sharing. So if you want me to read it out loud, you put yes. If you want me to not read your grief out loud, type no at the beginning of what you're saying. This one's going to be harder, y'all. And I respect your decision to be as involved or not as involved as you wish. But sometimes when we express our grief, it gives someone else comfort and makes them realize that they're not alone in their grief. So come with me. Take a deep breath and enter this safe and sacred place with me. Allow your community to hold your grief with you. The grief of not seeing family for 2 years. The grief of knowing that there are so many unemployed and financially struggling. The grief of being a person unemployed. The grief of being a person financially struggling. Grief for the loss of my wife, my estrangement from my family. The grief of not having in-person services. The grief and fear for close family refusing vaccine. The grief for missing our community. Very personal grief. 13 years ago yesterday was the death of a father, yet also held together with that gratitude that that father is not suffering with dementia anymore. Grief over hateful rhetoric we hear so often. Grief of a grandmother with dementia. You know, sometimes we lose those people before they're even gone. And it hurts when they don't remember us. It hurts when they say hateful things because they've lost a little bit of their mental functioning. And even in those, there's gratitude for painful things that they don't have to endure in their dementia. We grieve the loss of life. We grieve for kids who lost prom, for kids who lost epic graduation ceremonies. Grief for people who didn't get their dream wedding. Grief for people who didn't get their big birthday party. Grief for a friend lost 3 days ago from COVID. Loss of a mother, of an aunt, of a papa. Sometimes we lose parts of ourselves in our transformational processes, and there can be grief for that person, even as there's gratitude for how we grow as a person, for who we are becoming. Sometimes we grieve our pre-pandemic routine. Sometimes we grieve our loss of certainty, maybe even our loss of a sense of safety. Grief for those who have lost loved ones to COVID. When you look at that number, we're almost to 5 million worldwide, and you think, is there anyone who's not been affected? Is there anyone who has not known someone who's died? You all have been so brave in your sharing, and it has been so helpful to hear things that I am grieving, connect with things that you are grieving. If you have anything else to share, now is the time. Grief for the loss of a beloved husband. And I have a grief for losing my cat. My companions, we grieve all these things and more, knowing that there are times when sometimes our griefs are so close to our chest that we cannot speak them aloud or even type them in chat. As you share your grief, or as you hold it quietly in your heart, know that you are held in loving kindness by your community. When grief and gratitude walk hand in hand, when we've let our grief work on us, it stretches us, widening our capacity for love, widening our capacity for gratitude. Sometimes acknowledging the grief opens our eyes to new things that we are grateful for. We saw that happen in your sharing in the chat. Sometimes the things that we get a renewed sense of gratitude for after the grief are things that we took for granted before. This can feel like a more somber and stubborn sort of gratitude, one that comes from eyes that are cleared from the shedding of tears, ones that come from knowing how precious a gift is after it's gone. And sometimes it's even more basic than that. I think about a time many years ago when I lost 2 months of my life to a sickness that just would not relent. When I was finally well, able to eat again, able to leave the house again, I found myself being so grateful for things that I never noticed before. I was grateful to eat solid foods. I was grateful to play and care for my toddler. I was grateful that I got to run errands. Honestly, I was just grateful for life. Just life. Sometimes the gratitude that comes out of grief, that comes out of the shadow, can be simple and profound. I'm grateful for my dog who's barking in the background. And so I invite you to chat one more time. What are those bits of gratitude that grief and loss have opened you up to? What are the little blessings that are the most important of all that we sometimes forget to be grateful for? Share them in chat. It doesn't have to be long or grammatically correct. A word will do. And again, start with yes if you wish me to say it out loud, and no if you wish me to not say it out loud. There are some things that we really take for granted, like shelter, friends, food, friendships that have developed out of the need for potting in COVID, growing deeper in humanity and compassion from hardship, just being outdoors and able to walk. I've heard people share that if they've been on a ventilator due to COVID, just being able to breathe on their own can be a tremendous gratitude. Being able to breathe well when your nose isn't stuffed up anymore. Being able to get together with a friend or two in person. I know we already said it, but getting to see several of you in person last night and knowing that I get to see others of you one-on-one later on are amazing gifts. Being able to hug someone. Oh, that's a grief and a gratitude for me. That is for sure. The realization that in grief we have shared humanity, that we all experience these things. Grateful for the love that we've received in life. Grateful for being gifted for more time to ourselves. Grateful for learning to control an illness. Grateful for those skills that we learn only when things are challenging. That's really powerful. Grateful for modern medicine. No kidding. I'm looking out my window and I'm watching two children play, and I'm so grateful that that's a possibility. Grateful for a good belly laugh. Grateful for the power of humor in general. Oh my goodness. Grateful for friends with whom we can be vulnerable. I'm going to give you all another minute, so if you have something else, get it in. Grateful for being in good health. Grateful for bonfires. Grateful for finding new friends in work. Grateful for this community. Grateful for all the ways that we challenge each other and grow together. Grateful for a house to live in. Yes. And I'm grateful for the ways that we heal from our grief. That even when our grief never leaves, we find ways to live with it. And grateful for the ways that we've expanded. We are grateful that we have companions to walk in this journey with us. May we live our lives with a grateful awareness of all the gifts that grace our fingertips. May it be so. And I am grateful that we are going to get a chance to try to hear our special musical offering again. So we think we've got the video worked out, and we are going to try to play that now so that we can contemplate the grief and gratitude that comes with this season.
Appalachian melody drifting softly down, instruments of gold and red and brown. Do not need no dulcimer or banjo fiddle sound, for right now I'll watch these leaves come down. How peculiar, liking old dead leaves against the sky. There is something more than meets the eye. Funny how I sit and watch these leaves come down from high, but these things are music to my eyes. Such a pretty song I see, have I been beguiled? This day is not imagination's child. Every time the leaves come down, I've just got to smile, for they sing a melody so mild. How peculiar, liking old dead leaves against the sky. There is something more than meets the eye. Funny how I sit and watch these leaves come down from high, but these things are music to my eyes. Appalachian melody drifting softly down, instruments of gold and red and brown. Do not need no dulcimer or banjo fiddle sound, for right now I'll watch these leaves come down. For right now I'll watch these leaves come down.
Let's extinguish the chalice together with some parting words from Francis Ward Weller. The work of the mature person is to carry grief in one hand and gratitude in the other, and to be stretched large by them. How much sorrow can I hold? That's how much gratitude I can give. If I carry only grief, I'll drift toward cynicism and despair. If I have only gratitude, I'll become saccharine and won't develop much compassion for other people's suffering. Grief keeps a heart fluid and soft, which helps make compassion possible. Thank goodness this is work that we can do together. If you need a little extra support right now, contact Reverend Tiffany or the caring team. Please get your COVID vaccine if you can to help us all stay safer. If you've made a pledge, please remember to send it in. We know that when we don't meet in person, sometimes it's easy to forget, but we do need your financial support to keep going. Our PO box is in the announcement slides for mailing in your pledge. And don't forget our annual auction. This is a significant way that we can financially support our congregation every year. The auction will be held through an online platform from Thursday, November 11th through Saturday, November 13th. It's time to think about what sort of service or item you might like to donate to the auction to help make this event a success. If you're not sure what you could donate, Beth Calvert is here to give you some suggestions.
Three, two, one.
Hi. People have been talking about what to do for the auction, especially when it's a Zoom auction. And I guess my first rule of thumb is whatever you like to do it and share it. Obviously, I cook, so I can drive it to people's houses, or I can have several people on my porch. I've done 3 international meals. If you wanted to go to the Caribbean or the Mediterranean or India, you could have bought something last year. That may come up again. I know people who love to do art, like my sister Martha. She obviously offers art lessons. People who love to garden, Mary and Dana, have offered garden things. So it's what you love, and choose to do it with joy and delight. That's what I would say. Some of the other things that might work, a big pot of soup. Can people eat it on your porch, or can you take it to people's houses? And a favorite Calvert, personal best is our bagel brunch with the New York Times. We always do that in January, and that's just to honor Dave, whose idea this originally was. And we get bagels and lox and everything that goes with it. And you get a piece of the New York Times, so you get to talk about that. So think about it in terms of what's fun that you would like to share. Enjoy. Look forward to seeing what you've got. Bye.
Spotlight on me. Okay, my companions, this is my dearest wish, that we find moments to celebrate and we give voice to joy and gratitude whenever we have an excuse to. That we support each other and we companion each other in our grief, and that we are met with empathy and support when we reach out. That we seek our own growth by searching for moments of gratitude, even in the shadows. That we respond to the call to keep stretching ourselves, experiencing the transforming power of grief and gratitude. Amen. May it be so, and blessed be. In our postlude, Karis will guide us out of the service with a song that reflects the space our shadow elephants live. She says that looking and longing is not only a grieving process, but it also places us exactly where we need to be in order to fully appreciate the things that we are grateful for.
High on the ridge side, where I come from, I wonder about it all, and it twists my mind to think how it is on the other side. I ponder about solutions. Which side are you on when there are two sides of the same coin? So are they really that different after all? I know where the key is. I've seen it unlock doors and windows, and it's inside every one of us, and it's no